Greetings, friends, and welcome to Enigma Night Gaming. My name is Liara, and I will be your guide in today's adventure. Today we are playing the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, and in our last episode, we ended on a recess. Now, when we start up today, we're going to be interviewing some new witnesses, supposedly eyewitnesses that saw this crime. I don't know, where were they exactly? Maybe the balloons? Without further ado, let's hop in and find out. 23rd of October, 10:44 a.m. The Old Bailey, defendant's antechamber. He's like chewing his fingernails. Mr. Naruhodo? What on earth were you playing at just now? Or rather, what on earth were you playing at all along? My hypothesis, my amazing hypothesis. You've been picking holes in it from the start. Sorry about that. But you promised me. You said you'd prove that dreaded explosion was an accident, not murder. You said you'd keep my precious invention from falling into anyone else's hands. But all you've done so far is try to undermine me. I mean, yes, I did make you a promise, you're right. I said that I'd believe in you and fight for your freedom to the very end. But I also told you I was no scientist. I don't understand your hypothesis. The fact is, there's an undeniable flaw in your logic, isn't there? But if I just run through some equations. Yes, you see, it's because my work is incomplete. Perhaps it is. Nevertheless, a man died as a consequence, didn't he? Oh no! You're right. You're so right. It's all my fault. And I have no right to blame you for my failures. I'm a disaster, not just as a scientist, but as a human being. Well, that might be a little over the top, just a smidge. And while we're on the subject, well, what about Barrick? He's being awful. Claiming his old university friend to be a murderer, you mean? He's a disaster, not just as a prosecutor, but as a human being. Oh, but no, wait. He's the Reaper, isn't he? Perhaps he's not classified as Homo sapiens anymore. Now you're just being insulting. Glad that's cleared up. Oh boy. Can I double check something with you? Ah, yes, what? The machine and demonstration you prepared, they were based entirely on your hypothesis, I presume. There was no trickery involved? He's like feeling super insulted. I drew plans for the machine with my very own hands. Every line was painstakingly drawn with the firm belief the science is the only future. So yes, it's true that my hypothesis hasn't reached maturity yet. But please, Mr. Naruhodo, you must believe in it. All right, Professor, I understand. Counsel, defendant! Oh boy. The prosecution's witnesses are ready to take the stand. Court is about to be in session again. Make your way into the courtroom, please. Oh boy. I wonder who the eyewitnesses are. It all hinges on that demonstration. If the professor's hypothesis is sound as he claims, it leaves him as the only person who could possibly have killed the victim. But on the other hand, Mr. Sholmes was adamant. A practical implementation, such as was attempted by the professor at the Great Exhibition, is quite impossible. So who do we believe? So really, what should I be trying to prove here? I hope we don't have to choose between the hypothesis and, like, his guilt or something. 23rd October, 11 a.m., the Old Bailey courtroom. Oh boy. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby reconvene the proceedings of this court. Counsels for the defense and prosecution, are you ready for the new witness to testify? The prosecution is ready, my lord. As is the defense, my lord.
So, Lord Van Zeeks, I believe these next witnesses saw the demonstration on the day in question with their own eyes.
Indeed, they did. And as luck would have it, one of them is a police detective. So the testimony we are about to hear can be considered highly reliable. Please don't tell me it's the blonde-haired policeman and his wife from a few cases back. Please. Perfect, a detective of all people. The prosecution's stance remains unchanged. Though it ended in tragedy, the demonstration on the day in question was scientifically sound. And consequently, the sole person with the opportunity to have committed this act of murder is the only other individual to have been present on the stage at the time, the accused.
Thank you, counsel. The prosecution's position is clear. So bring forth your witnesses now.
Bailiff, show the witnesses in. The witnesses whose proximity to the incident on the day in question will clarify the truth unequivocally. Oh boy. Who is it? Oh, okay. Phew. But still. Oh, okay, yeah, she's working at Scotland Yard, right? Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court to hear.
My name is Balthazar Loon. I am the impresario of all hot air balloons in vicinity of the Experimento stage.
My name is Wilhelm Gostrich Sigismund Umstein. I pronounced that horribly. I have come to see the great exhibition all the way from my home in Bohemia. It's such a difference in heights. I'm very rich. Inspector Gina Lestrade, Scotland Yard. I'm a great detective, even Sherlock Holmes agrees. I was on security duty at the exhibition, and I got to go up in one of them balloons. It was amazing. Gina. Again. Oh boy. But she did mention that she'd seen the disaster from up in a balloon, actually, didn't she? I do believe she said that. And she clearly loved every minute of it. There were 3 balloons flying near the public experimentation stage when the incident occurred. 2 of these witnesses were in one such balloon at the time and saw events unfold from the skies above.
You make it sound like they were in the clouds. It was only an altitude of circa 60 feet. Very low.
Well, you can see nothing if you fly too high, can ya? 60 feet, about 18 meters then.
Thank you for your introductions. Now you will give your formal testimony for the court. Kindly describe exactly what you witnessed, especially those of you who had a vantage point above the stage.
Oh boy. Alright, the view from 60 feet up. It was an incident terrible. I am only grateful that my balloons were not damaged. There's this huge bang from the stage, and then the next second another bang in the sky beside us. And from amid the smoke, a cage appeared out of nowhere.
The cage, it fell from the sky like a stone and crashed into the crystal tower.
I didn't get a good look inside the cage, but no one went near it after it crashed into the tower. Oh boy.
A most extraordinary collective account, I must say.
Could I just clarify something? There's a detail in the witness testimony that I've not heard any mention of until now. Specifically, that there were 2 explosions? Yeah, what's that about? More precisely, 2 explosions in 2 separate places, yes. Like, that is the first we've heard about that. When the demonstration began, the balloon carrying the 2 witnesses was around here.
There were other balloons in the air nearby at the time carrying other passengers as well, to be clear. Okay, so where did they... Okay, that's one explosion. Then, as power was supplied to the machine for the demonstration, the first explosion occurred. The so-called birdcage that contained the victim disappeared from stage, and a moment later, the second explosion occurred directly adjacent to the balloon carrying the witnesses. The birdcage appeared at the site of the explosion, subsequently to plummet down into the crystal tower. It almost sounds like it was shot out of a cannon and hit the balloon. I don't know, that's what it sounds like.
I was very surprised. Suddenly a cage appeared before my eyes with a person inside. The blast was so hot, but I didn't want to miss a thing, so I kept my eyes wide.
Oh boy.
I still have lots of money.
The judge doesn't know what to make of that. I'm like, yeah, I understand that. Precisely who is this curious infant? Exactly. I'm told he is a young noble of Bohemian royalty. Apparently, he disguised himself in order to steal unnoticed into the great exhibition. How's that working out for you, my guy?
Yeah, I am here in London on a sightseeing trip visit my elementary school.
We will have the benefit of a child's point of view in the testimony. Do we really need that? I mean, exactly. Why is a child in a murder investigation?
When I remove my mask, this is what I look like.
Ah, yes, I see. A delightful face, I'm sure.
I mean, you would know you're Santa, right? Yeah, everybody says so.
Great disguise, then. The point is, the testimony of these witnesses further substantiates the facts for the court. Namely, that despite ending in an explosion, instantaneous kinesis was successfully demonstrated. I'm not so sure about that. Are you sure it was demonstrated? And furthermore, that until the arrival of the police, no one approached the crystal tower where the victim fell.
There's too many holes in this story for me.
Therefore, only the accused, who was with Mr. Asman on the stage, could possibly have committed the murder. Objection! Yes, thank you, counsel. The prosecution's views on the matter are quite clear. So, the defense's cross-examination now, please.
Yes, my lord.
Oh boy. Time for some cross-examination. Pressing statements, I think. Because I don't have any idea where we're going from to start with.
It was an incident terrible. I am only grateful that my balloons were not damaged.
Hold it!
There were 3 balloons flying above the experimentation stage at the time, I understand. I feel like one of them was damaged.
Si, all 3 of them, my bellissimi bambini. They're very popular, signor. Some people will pay £10 for one ride.
£10? That's more than my annual stipend.
£20 a month. That is my pocket money.
Royals have all the luck. I got up there for free, I did. I played the old I work for Her Majesty Police Guard, you know. Detectives have all the luck. If they're so popular, why would you only be operating such a small number of balloons, though?
Because if I have too many in the skies, they could crash into each other.
The operators for the balloons were decided by lots, with each operator manning a particular area.
See, and the zone above the public experimentation stage is the most profitable.
The other impresarios, they hate me. Maybe they wanted to cause some drama. Thank you, witness. I think the court has a clear picture of the arrangements for balloon rides at the exhibition. Perhaps we could hear more about what you actually witnessed of the incident. Alright, I can fill you in there, my lord. Alright.
There's this huge bang from the stage, and then the next second, another bang in the sky beside us.
Hold it!
Alright. So you actually saw the accident happen from up in the air? Yep. Isn't it amazing what a detective gets to do, eh? I'm telling you, Odo, being a lawyer's a mug's game. You should join the force and we can go flying together. You know me so well. Yes, well, anyway, could you tell us exactly what you saw, do you think? Everything. We saw everything, because we were up above it all. That dodgy cove climbing into that cage and that dodgy professor pulling all them levers. And that's when it happened. That's when there was that massive bang and the cage disappeared. Just like that.
You are describing the moment the subject's body was decomposed by the electricity, I believe.
I didn't know what to make of it, but then there was another bang right in me ear. I looked around and there was a huge great fireball right next to us in the sky. And there was nothing there before.
Oh. What do you have to say about that?
Master Gotts? Does your memory of the day differ? What's he gonna say? My teacher at elementary school said that when you meet someone for the first time, you should always use their full name. Ah, yes. What was it again? Wilhelm Gottfried Sigismund Ormstein. Just the 4 names then? The point is, do you have something to say? Something to add in response to Detective Gina Lestrade's last remark, perhaps? Aye, get it right, Odo. It's Inspector Lestrade. Why does everyone have a problem with how I address them at the moment? That is not what I saw. Oh? Yeah. There was a second explosion, and it was right beside our balloon. That is true. But I'm sure, which is what I said in it. 1 minute there was nothing there, and the next a massive explosion. My teacher at elementary school said that when someone else is speaking, if you are rude enough to interrupt, you will have the most awful life imaginable. Are all Bohemians brought up to be so full of joy? Oh, he lost his balloon. He needs another one. Just before the second explosion happened next to our balloon, I clearly witnessed a green balloon flying in the sky. A green balloon? I never saw nothing like that. I did. I saw it, and you can't say I didn't. I will complain to the council. I will cry and scream. My testimony is the truth. I am Bohemian Prince. You cannot say it is lied. That is not allowed. He's throwing a full-on temper tantrum. Tisk, playing the bleeding royalty card, are ya? Typical. Oh boy, says the orphan who likes to remind people she works for Her Majesty's police. Oh man.
In that case, young man, I must ask you to amend your formal testimony. In the interest of cordial national relations between Great Britain and Bohemia.
Alright, so we'll get to question him about that. It was not the sky that exploded. It was a green balloon that was next to us at the time.
Hold it!
A green balloon, you say? Are you sure about that? Of course I am sure. I am a proud Bohemian Prince. All these questions are making me boring.
And they're making you boring?
I think you mean boring. me and Ryunosuke are like on the same wavelength here.
I think you mean bored.
Ah, English is very annoying. The language of my countrymen is far superior.
Ragazzo, it is very wrong to lie.
Lie?
Flying balloons never explode. For the same reason the planets never explode. It is logical.
Please tell me that doesn't mean logical. If you insult me, you insult all of Bohemia. My day. I will have the army come and shoot all of your stupid balloons out of the sky. All of them. Overreact much? But he's more than happy to sell another balloon. Here you are, Your Highness. If only all international incidents were so easily resolved. Oh boy. Now that peaceful relations have been restored here in the courtroom, perhaps we could return to the testimony. Did you also see the moment that the cage materialized, Mr. Loon? No, I did not see the explosion myself. However, the cage, it fell from the sky like a stone and crashed into the crystal tower.
Hold it!
Did you see that actually happen, though? No, in reality I did not. I saw after it hit the tower. There was a grand confusion around the stage. I ran to see what had happened. I was terrorized by the idea that one of my balloons had crashed. I suppose they are his livelihood. But when I looked up to the sky, all my precious balloons were still there. I saw it though. I saw it slam into the tower. After all, I am a detective now. Then tell us what you saw, Inspector Lestrade. That's what I like to hear. I didn't get a good look inside the cage, but no one went near it after it crashed into the tower.
Hold it!
Was it you who gave the order to keep the people away? Eh? Here's your head, Otto. How good it had been, mate. I was up in a balloon, weren't I? Right. So, cause I weren't available, it was the boss who had to leg it over there. It was getting shoved and kicked all over by the panicking spectators as he tried to seal off the scene. It was a real sight to behold, I can tell you. Amazing. Poor Inspector Gregson. So, anyway, I couldn't see the cage that well because of all the smoke. And I didn't really want to see it, to be honest. I was scared out of me wits. Keep it together, Inspector. Alright, I think that piece of rubber we found is going to be important. The prosecution really is asserting that the demonstration was genuine. But what if it was actually some kind of switch-around trick instead? That's what I'm thinking. That would mean that the victim was never actually on the stage in the first place. The two explosions would have thrown everybody watching into a panic for sure. I think I need to find out more about what exactly people saw at the time. Alright, so if we look at our, if we look at this, this is a torn piece of canvas-like material backed with rubber that was found under the experimentation stage at the exhibition grounds. There are scorch marks at the edges. I think that's what we need to present maybe to the Bohemian Prince. Let's skip ahead and see if we can find the appropriate comment to present that to. It was not the sky that exploded. It was a green balloon that was next to us at the time. So let's see if we can present this. Let's see.
Objection!
Okay, so it's not going to be his statement. So what would we be presenting? That's what I need to find out. Maybe we present it to him. It was an incident terrible. I am only grateful that my balloons were not damaged. If his balloons weren't damaged... Let's try presenting the piece of torn cloth. It's probably going to be wrong, but we'll give it a shot. It wasn't wrong. Mr. Loon, in your testimony, you said that all three of the balloons you had operating at the time were undamaged. You see, that is correct. If they had been caught in the explosions, it would have been terrible. I wonder if you might know what this is. I think it may be see, part of a balloon. A burnt piece of the fabric of the envelope. Sorry? The envelope? Pardon. That is the large round part of the balloon, which becomes filled with hot air.
It is made from a very thick fabric lined with rubber. You do not want it to rip when you are in the sky. Just as I thought. This piece of cloth was found near the experimentation stage. In other words, as Mr. Gotts testified. A green balloon did indeed explode that day. If all the balloons in the sky above the experimentation sky belong to you, Mr. Loon, then your statement that they were all undamaged clearly contradicts the evidence. You know, I mean, clearly, if a balloon exploded that day, why didn't the man say so? Maybe everyone on board was killed. Oh no, having just spent 10 whole pounds for the experience, how awful. Seems to me like those things crash 50% of the time anyway. The instantaneous kinesis did occur, but after the explosion on the stage. The point of the materialization shifted to a location occupied by a balloon. Causing the balloon to explode? Yes, eminently plausible. An unfortunate traffic accident, as it were, but it changes nothing about the pertinent facts. What does it? This I cannot accept. Why not, Mr. Loon? You are suggesting that I am a liar. The persons died in a balloon incident. And there's no need to get fired up, Mr. Loon. The victim was the sole fatality that day. That's right, and I prove it. Balthazar Loon is not a liar. There was no such balloon in the sky. It is non possible. You're saying it's impossible? Why? This court has more important matters to discuss than the number of balloons that were operating that day. I don't know, I feel like it might be relevant. Hey.
Objection.
But we can't ignore the fact that nobody appears to have known anything about this other balloon until now. My lord. The defense calls for further testimony from Mr. Loon. I concur. There's clearly more to the truth here than meets the eye. It is imperative that we clear up the issue of this phantom balloon, I feel. Witness, you will give us supplementary testimony about the balloons you are operating at the exhibition. Ah, gracie, my lord. Okay. There we go. Mr. Loon's balloons. As I said, Balthazar Loon is no liar. Every balloon I had in the sky landed safely. All 3 of my balloons were carrying passengers. If they fell to the ground in an explosion, what a catastrophe. But you can't get away from the fact that a bit of cloth was found at the scene, can ya? The coppers at the yard reckon it was probably some debris thrown from the explosion on the stage. This stupid ragazzo is mistaken. My balloons had the red and blue zigzag stripes anyway. I mean, that makes sense. So it was someone else's balloon, maybe? So your assertion is that the balloon this child saw was not one belonging to you? Si, exactement. If he even saw the balloon in the first place. I do not like the sound of it. It is very bad for business. I have a good mind to sue the land of Bohemia. If you attack us, we will fight back. It will be war, all out war. Oh boy. What happened to all out war? I mean, I guess it vanished with the purchase of a balloon. Mr. Loon certainly doesn't appear to be lying, but that doesn't change the fact that the testimony and evidence are contradictory here. If the defense is unable to find fault with the witness's statement, the court must consider them the truth. Think long and hard on that, my learned friend. Alright, the situation is clearly changed now. I have to get to the bottom of what happened here, no matter what it takes. Counsel, you may now cross-examine the witnesses. Oh boy. Second cross-examination, guys. Alright. As I said, Balthazar Loon is no liar. Every balloon I had landed in the sky, landed safely.
Hold it!
You couldn't just have forgotten one, maybe?
Signor. I might not notice if I was given 100 lentils and one was missing. But we are talking about 3 enormous balloons. Do you believe I could mistake about something so grand and expensive? I took the liberty of having Inspector Gregson check this gentleman's warehouse. I have the report here. It clearly says a total of 3 balloons. It would appear no mistake has been made, then.
Surely Miss Lestrade could have been sent for such a menial task. What, me? I'll tell you what I told the boss. East End kids like me can only count up to 2. Obviously that ain't true, but the boss bought it and said he'd have to go himself in that case. Huh. Alright, way to talk yourself out of some work.
All 3 of my balloons were carrying passengers. If they fell to the ground in an explosion, what a catastrophe.
Hold it!
It would be quite a catastrophe if they fell to the ground for any reason, I think. On that note, Mr. Loon, tell me, what is it that keeps these balloons in the sky?
Are you an idiot?
Sorry?
That is like asking, why does a candle burn bright? It burns bright because it burns bright, and our balloon flies because it flies. What else?
That must be Italian for I don't know. That's what I was thinking.
There are 2 types of flying balloons, hot air balloons and gas balloons. Hot air balloons work on the principle of hot air being less dense than cold air, whereas gas balloons derive their lift by using a gas that is lighter than air. See, and my balloons are filled with the magic gas, I believe. Hydrogen, lighter than air, but highly explosive. Good Lord! I do not permit smoking of the cigarettes in any of my balloons. The magic gas does not like fire. Even a small spark of static electricity could cause the entire balloon to explode. What is the matter with you, Signor? All that comes out of your mouth is explosion, explosion. I tell you, my balloons are perfectly safe. They have to be, or I cannot eat. None of my balloons exploded that day. I am completely sure. But if you still say that is what happened, you must show me the proof.
Alright, so Mr. Loon had 3 balloons in the air that day. If none of them were damaged, then what was that one that exploded? But you can't get away from the fact that a burnt up bit of cloth was found at the scene, can ya? I was surprised to find the piece of fabric still at the scene, actually. Didn't you search the area surrounding the stage for clues? Nah, I'm not into picking stuff up off the ground, me. Always worked out way better diving into people's pockets instead. So much for the new career path. Mind you, the boss was on his hands and knees picking up all kinds of rubbish from the floor. Thing is, though, the cage went crashing into the crystal tower, didn't it? So that's where most of the investigating was going on. Even so, I would have thought someone from Scotland Yard would have gathered it up as evidence. Core, listen to you. You stumble across a balloon and suddenly you're the best investigator in the world. Pardon? Well, you ain't got a badge, have you? Like this one? I could arrest you with this if I wanted to. I wouldn't put it past her. Come to think of it, there was some talk of scorching on the ground at a meeting we had about the investigation. Okay. The coppers at the yard reckon it was probably some debris thrown from the explosion on the stage.
Hold it!
Really? There was considerable damage to the stage and surrounding area, wasn't there? Yeah, some of the coves who were watching the experiment were caught in the blast and injured. Good job the old contraption didn't kill over, eh? I hadn't even considered that. It seems there was great panic after the incident occurred.
Nevertheless, the police shouldn't have missed a torn piece of the envelope from a balloon. Inspector Gregson can expect repercussions. Like me swiping all his fish and chips, eh? The man's sole pleasure. None of this matters. That scrap of balloon envelope means nothing. Niente. This stupido ragazzo is mistaken. My balloons have the red and blue zigzag stripes anyways.
Hold it!
You mean the color is wrong? Si, signor. I do not have any green balloons in my warehouse. And yet a piece of green cloth was found at the scene, and it's unmistakably from a balloon. Well, I do not know how that can be. For the sake of argument, let's say that a green balloon did explode above the stage. You couldn't therefore conclude that it happened on the day in question. Why not? There have been recreational balloon flights over Hyde Park operating from before the Great Exhibition. One could have exploded on some earlier date. Unfortunate, as I'm sure you'd agree. You believe it may have been from some earlier balloon accident that predates the exhibition? Si, exactement. As the signor says, it is not from one of my balloons. Clearly, this little ragazzo from Bohemia is mistaken about what he saw.
Excuse me!
Something wrong, Master Gotts?
It's Master Wilhelm Gostrich Sigismund Ormstein.
I can't say his name. It was on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, something is very wrong. I know what I saw. There was a green balloon there. I swear it. I swear all over Bohemia.
You can speak as much bad language as you like, but it changes nothing. If you do not have evidence, ragazzo, then I must tell your parents to punish you, eh? Perhaps we'll let the judge decide when it comes to punishments.
Evidence? What is this evidence?
To give a simple example, young man. A photograph, for instance. Some tangible proof of what you claim.
Well, why didn't you say so sooner? I have the photograph here.
Good gracious! What?
I had not been up in a balloon for a little while, so I was very excited. I took lots and lots of photographs. Of the Crystal Tower, of the Bohemian exhibit, of the streets of London, of the hot eel cellar, the balloon.
And the instantaneous kinesis experiment, did you take a picture of that?
Yeah, one picture.
Really? You did take one?
But all I wanted was a ride in a balloon. I was not interested in boring experiments.
Never mind that. Can you show us that photograph?
Of course, and then you will see. You will see that I am not lying. That I really did see a green balloon.
Oh, man. I mean, it's black and white, though. Are they going to say that it's green? Or are they going to point out the obvious?
Well, I see you're all too shocked to speak.
Yes, I think shocked is indeed the word, young man.
Yeah, perhaps you cannot see that it was a green balloon from this photograph, but that is not my fault. That is the fault of the stupid person who made the camera. Wah! Wah! This is one very bohemian sounding cry. Wah! Wah! It's got the dots over the A's.
Very well. The court will accept this photograph as evidence. The photograph of the balloon's been entered into the court record. Alright, a photograph taken by Gotts whilst he was riding in a balloon. It shows another balloon that he claims was green and exploded moments after this was shot.
It's not my fault. It's the fault of the person who made the camera.
Well, never mind. I'm sure you have plenty of wonderful sepia memories to take home with you. In any case, when exactly did you take that photograph?
Well, it was on the day of the big explosion.
You don't say.
When I pressed the shutter release, there was this very loud bang, and a hot wind rushed over my face.
That means this photograph was taken a split second before the explosion occurred. Did he cause the explosion? I wonder. No, that doesn't make sense though, right? Well, if you ask me, this black and white photograph changes nothing. I could not give the flying fig. Lovely language you've picked up. Oh boy. As I thought, Mr. Loon's testimony just doesn't quite add up. The young bohemian boy claims to have seen another fourth balloon, but Mr. Loon vehemently denies the possibility, and it's hard to imagine the man in charge could be mistaken about the number that were in the air. Still, this inconsistency must tell us something, I'm sure. We're gonna have to look at that photo. Alright, let's look at the photo we got. Alright, so what can we tell? We see the explosion. That whatever this is going straight for the balloon. And there's no people in here, right? Let's see, he's still in the cage, presumably. Something... Is that right? What else is there? Is there anything else that we can see from this? There's obviously no one in here, right? So yeah, whatever it was heading up here. Trying to see if there's anything else that I can see. He's still there. And there's something heading straight for it. I don't know what that is. Every balloon I had in the sky landed safely. All 3 of my balloons were carrying passengers. If they fell to the ground in an explosion, what a catastrophe. Okay, so all 3 of them were carrying passengers, but the balloon in the picture clearly is not. So it either was there or it wasn't his balloon or something, right? No passengers. So let's present that.
Objection!
Unfortunately, the photograph Mr. Gotts took can't tell us the color of the balloon. But it can tell us something else. Something crucially important. What? It shows that the pictured balloon wasn't carrying any passengers. Ah, my goodness, you're right. But surely all the balloons would have been carrying passengers? There would be no sense in it otherwise. See, there for pleasure, for seeing the view. My balloons only fly with passengers. Which tells us the pictured balloon isn't one of them. So when the incident occurred that day, there was a 4th balloon in the skies above the experimentation stage. The mysterious green balloon. I know nothing. Niente. I can only tell you one thing. If this balloon was not carrying passengers, then it was not one of mine. His hat's gonna explode, like, with his blood pressure. There are illegal tradesmen everywhere you care to look. Clearly, one such entrepreneur decided to capitalize on the opportunity presented by the Great Exhibition, and managed to operate balloon flights on Mr. Loon's patch without him realizing. But there's nobody in it! What would be the point? Si, the competition, trying to steal my profits. I did not notice because of the experimento that went wrong on the stage. This 4th balloon exploded at the very same moment Mr. Asman was beamed from the stage below. Right, so them scraps fell to the ground after and left them scorch marks. They didn't come from the stage at all. It was bits of balloon raining down, that's right. But cause no one was in it, it didn't get no attention. A mysterious 4th balloon carrying no passengers, silently floating over the experimentation stage.
Objection!
This photograph shows us nothing more. A stray balloon carrying no one and operated by some rogue trader. Clearly, it has nothing to do with the case. Disagree. Its relevance does elude me, I must say. The court has seen sufficient evidence and heard ample testimony already. The prosecution calls for this trial to be concluded.
They're like not even paying attention. Really? Have we really got to the truth yet? I don't think so. No, I can't let this opportunity slip away. The jurors' minds are made up and not in our favor. What else can this photograph tell us? Is there nothing more we can learn from it? There is more. There's clearly this beam of light. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, wait. Please don't give your decisions yet. The photograph from Master Gotts may well be hiding one more vital clue.
What's that? A vital clue?
Objection!
We're well past the point of mere possibilities. It's time for definitives now, so tell the court. What exactly does this alleged clue in the photograph prove?
The cause of the explosion? We can reasonably assume that the pictured balloon was destroyed in the searing heat of the explosion. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was not my fault.
Evidently, because the birdcage from the kinesis machine materialized in the sky where it had been flying. And the balloon, being filled with flammable hydrogen, instantly and explosively ignited.
No, because when it's about to explode, there's something else going towards the balloon, and the cage is clearly still in its place.
Objection!
No, that's not what happened.
What? It would appear that this photograph requires closer examination. Counsel for the defense, you will highlight the location of the alleged clue in the photograph for the court.
Of course, my lord. Alright. If you look closely, it's plain enough to see, and what's shown is linked to another piece of evidence we have. In a way, it leads to an unbelievable conclusion, the clue that heavily suggests the real reason the balloon exploded is... Alright, so do we put it on this thing? I'm guessing. Unless we have to put it down there, but I'm guessing it needs to be right here, right? Let's try this.
Take that!
The timing of this photograph can only be described as miraculous. If you look, you'll notice there's a bright white line that appears to point directly at the balloon.
Most likely a ray of light caught incidentally on film. I'm afraid I can see nothing of the sort.
If you look with a magnifying glass, my lord, it becomes clear what the nature of this bright line really is.
Goodness, what is that? Undeniably some flash of light, yes.
Oh golly, do you think it might be lightning?
But it couldn't have been a finer day. I believe we may be looking at fire.
Maybe.
A bolt of fire heading straight for the balloon, like an arrow? Indeed, even to my aging eyes, it would appear to be a flame of some sort. My word, are you suggesting this flame struck the hydrogen gas that filled the balloon?
Objection!
That's absurd. The balloon would have been 60 feet above the ground at the time. No flame could possibly have reached such a height.
Objection!
Oh, but it could. Actually, it's my opinion that a particular piece of evidence found at the scene reveals exactly how that is exactly what did happen.
What evidence? If such evidence exists, counsel, then for goodness sake present it, man. Which evidence explains this mysterious streak of flame that appears to be headed directly for the balloon?
It's this, right? Right. It's because this launched the bolt, right?
I think this was on fire and it maybe launched that. Let's see.
Take that!
The true nature of the curious slim streak of light is revealed by this. No, a curious answer with a slim chance of being the correct one, I feel. Okay, so that one's not it. It looks somewhat like a piece of firework, but whereas fireworks dazzle their audience, you fizzle out in a remarkably disappointing way. Insults dressed up in colorful metaphors are still insults. But anyway, the firework display isn't over yet. Maybe, I really feel like it's this. Maybe we gotta examine it. Like, maybe there's something we haven't figured out here with this. Can we examine this some? Wait, what is this? We haven't examined this. Ah, there's some sort of lever here. Oh, see, I knew this. Okay, what is this? It looks like a cross between a bow and a gun. I think it's probably used for the same thing, too. Okay, so I was right. I just hadn't clicked the one lever. Okay, so we present the crossbow. That's what it is.
Take that!
This was found hidden at the foot of a small ornamental tree near the scene. Good lord, is that a crossbow? Yeah, the same one I just showed you a minute ago, my guy. An arrow dipped in oil instead of light could have been shot from this weapon, sending a flaming arrow straight into the hydrogen-filled balloon. Are you suggesting that crossbow was used to deliberately? Blimey, you're right. That straight light in the book photo looks just like an arrow, doesn't it? Then the explosion of the balloon, it was very likely the result of a flaming arrow from this crossbow, igniting the hydrogen gas inside of it. No. Oh, man. Order! Order! Council, this is an extraordinary supposition. If the aim was to cause the balloon to explode, the shooter could have used a gun, of course. However, there's an obvious reason why that would have been out of the question. The noise of the discharge, of course. That's right. By using a crossbow, the projectile could be fired at the balloon silently. Well, yeah, if someone shot the gun at the exhibition grounds, it would have caused a real panic. But with the big explosion, there was a very big panic anyway, no? I mean, yes, I don't like this. I should be pleased to have found a plausible new explanation for all this, but something feels wrong.
Objection!
Do you understand the implications of what you're saying, my Nipponese friend? If a flaming arrow did indeed hit the balloon, then obviously it would have exploded. And if the birdcage appeared from the cloud of smoke that ensued? Well, wait a minute. What are you really saying here? I don't get it. Was the birdcage beamed up into the sky after all? Or what? My goodness me. Ah, now I understand. That's what the sinking feeling is about. I think there's a good chance that the birdcage was actually concealed inside the balloon all along. What? Did I just hear that correctly, Council? There's no going back now. The horse is bolted. That makes sense. Let's assume, as I said, that the birdcage was hidden inside the green balloon from the start. On stage, when the experiment was started, the birdcage in the instantaneous kinesis machine disappeared in a cloud of smoke. At that moment, the flaming arrow was fired from the ground, causing the green balloon to explode and drawing the attention of the spectators to the sky above their heads. From amid the smoke, the hidden birdcage then appeared to fall down and crash into the crystal tower. I think you'll all agree it's entirely plausible that what I've just described is the real truth behind the miraculous experiment carried out that day. Good grief! He has no words.
Objection!
This is ludicrous. What you've described is no science experiment. It's child's play, a contemptible display of stage magic. Both Mr. Sholmes and Iris said that the experiment was a scientific impossibility. In which case, this is the only way to explain what happened that day. And in any case, the victim's body was found inside the birdcage in the Crystal Tower. If the instantaneous kinesis didn't take place, how do you explain that? If I may put in a word as a man of magic myself, such apparent discrepancies can easily be explained by some simple deception. Juror number 3? All that would be needed is a doppelganger, someone who looked very similar to the victim, Mr. Asman, and having this other man appear on stage to front the show as a body double. Yes, of course. So in fact, Mr. Asman must have been inside the birdcage that was concealed inside the balloon right from the start.
Objection!
That balloon would have been filled with hydrogen. Anything hidden inside it would have been scattered to the 4 winds when it exploded. No one would ever have embarked on such a risky venture. Not necessarily. The explosive force of the balloon gas would very much depend upon the mixture ratio. Juror number 4. Flying balloons are rarely filled with pure hydrogen, but a mixture of other gases such as helium as well. Helium on its own doesn't explode, but by controlling the gas mixture ratio, the explosive force can be altered. The mixture ratio. Obviously, the victim's body would have suffered some burns. That would be unavoidable. But not to such an extent as to render this whole obscene charade impossible. So everything that happened can be explained logically and scientifically. The explosion that engulfed the stage at the start of this experiment was no accident. It was all part of an elaborate deception to make it appear that instantaneous kinesis had occurred. Well, goodness me! And if we accept that this is what happened, it means that the victim, Mr. Asman, was never present on the public experimentation stage to begin with. Ugh. In short, he couldn't have been killed by the defendant who was on stage in full view the entire time. Ugh. Oh boy. But you just completely disproved the hypothesis. This will be very hard for the prosecution to counter. Lord Vinzix can't credibly maintain that Professor Harebrain is a suspect now. What's going on? Mr. Naruhodo, I appreciate your efforts. Thank you. Professor? But you can stop now. Just keep your mouth shut, please. Sorry? What's all this about, Mr. Harebrain? I, Albert Harebrain, hereby confess that it was me who stabbed Mr. Odie Asman. Gotta protect that hypothesis, right? Yes, it was me, with my faithful friend and partner, Andrew the Screwdriver. What are you doing? Order, order, order! Defendant, explain this sudden confession.
Objection!
Professor Harebrain, what are you talking about? It's what I've said all along. I must protect my hypothesis and my precious machine. You stand there and claim it was all a trick, an elaborate prank, but where's your proof? I'm pretty sure we just went over all that. No, you'd have to examine the machine if you wanted to prove it, but then it would all be over. My beautiful hypothesis would be laid bare. I mean, the indignity of it. It's clear that you drew the plans for the experiment, but you didn't actually build it.
It's quite conceivable that you were duped, Professor. If you'll just let me, I can prove... Barrick!
Yes?
I'll cooperate. I'll do whatever you say. I swear it. So please, ensure the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act is adhered to and protect my creation.
I feel like he's hiding something. Like, he's so suspicious about his machine. What's going on here? Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hallowed chalice at this critical juncture. Here's to my learned Nipponese friend. What? And his upcoming attempt to clarify the defense's position in the light of the accused's confession. Do you intend to formally assert that the experiment was nothing more than a conjuring trick? Because the moment you do, the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act that protects the professor's invention will cease to apply. The prosecution will then demand a rigorous examination of the machinery involved in order to establish the truth. However, if you acknowledge that the machine is genuine and instrumental in the victim's murder, any chance of investigating will be crushed and the confidentiality of the professor's hypothesis preserved. Oh boy. Well, counsel, what is the defense's official position on this matter?
What Professor Harebrain, my client, actually asked of me was to prove that the explosion on stage was an accident and protect the secrecy of his hypothesis. But there's no way to do that without implying the professor's guilt. Do I protect my client's life by asserting his innocence, or do I uphold my client's request but see him condemned? Either way, I can't avoid betraying his trust.
You've been silent long enough. Isn't talking your trade, my learned friend?
I mean, that's kind of rude.
Or has all knowledge of English escaped your confused Nipponese mind?
Mr. Naruhodo! There's no escape here. I have to make a choice. But it's an impossible one. I have to give him on something. But what? The defense asserts that the defendant's instantaneous kinesis machine was, in fact... I think it was a proper invention, even if it's wrong. Like, I don't think he did the wrong thing, right?
What's going on now?
No, I can't say it. My client placed his faith in me. I can't just let him down. What must I give up on is not the question you have to ask yourself here. It's what can I protect? Hello again, Mr. Naruhodo. It's been far too long. Susato-san! But what are you... Hey-ya! Oh boy. My first Susato takedown in 6 months. There'll be time to talk later, Mr. Naruhodo. For now, we must concentrate on the task at hand. Which is working out what I have to give up on, but what I can protect. Professor Harebrain. Yes? Yesterday, you told me that science is the pursuit of truth. Well, my job is to pursue the truth, too. Yes, of course. And personally, I believe that you didn't stab Mr. Osmond. I think you've come to realize something yourself too, haven't you? That your experiment and the machine you built with the victim are questionable. The truth behind that is what we must both pursue now.
So, you've finally opened your eyes.
What?
And as for you, Albert, You can't ignore this any longer. Having heard my learned friend's assertion, don't you have something to say? Anything?
But Varric...
Lord Van Zeeks?
Gosh, I've never heard him speak that way before. In truth, there is one thing. Something I've remembered that's of relevance.
What?
On the day it happened, just before I began the experiment, I saw a man near the stage. A man holding that crossbow.
I beg your pardon?
Professor! Did the man have any distinguishing features? What did he look like? Taller than me, and thinner than me, with straight hair, straighter and wider than mine. Let me see. Oh, one less lens than me too, a monocle, a rather stylish black monocle. But one thing in particular will help to positively identify the man. You see, I know him very well. After all, he's the engineer who built my invention.
What?
He built the machine? That's right. Mr. Asman introduced him to me a year ago. He's a man by the name of Enoch Drebber.
Enoch? Drebber? Does this name mean something? Members of the jury seem flustered. Not a name any scientist wishes to hear. That man's an abomination.
Not a name any conjurer wishes to hear either. Who on earth is he?
I'm afraid this isn't the first tale of this nature that I've heard in scientific circles in connection with that name. There's talk of other flamboyant experiments that turn out to be nothing but stage trickery in the end. Obviously, the rascal is after the government's research grant money. Oh, when musicians are in need of money, I have heard of them resorting to these underhanded tactics. Some acquaintances of mine with experience of such things have mentioned Enoch Drebber's name before. The man is both an engineer and a magician. Yes, we're dealing with an unparalleled confidence trickster here. That's Enoch Drebber for you. Oh boy. The truth of the machine is coming out. Man. What a wild ride. Are you gonna finally give it up?
So it's true then? My invention, my great machine, it was just a grand illusion?
Considering what we've just heard about Mr. Drebber's character, I'm sorry to say that sounds increasingly likely.
Even though no one else believed it, I wanted to. I wanted to believe that machine would function exactly as my hypothesis predicted.
Which is why you were so opposed to it being investigated, I presume.
I knew that if the machine was examined in detail, its construction would give away my hypothesis. Obviously, I didn't want that to happen. But at the same time, I knew that if it was found to be nothing more than a trick, than a work of deception, then everything I'd worked towards, all my research, all my dreams, all my whole life would be over. I was terrified at that prospect.
So you really had no idea then, did you? About the true nature of the machine that was built? And the true nature of Mr. Drebber?
I never questioned anything. I didn't want to question it.
It's entirely possible that Mr. Asman and Mr. Drebber were working together to use you as a means of fraudulently acquiring the research grant money. Maybe, and then things went south, possibly? Maybe.
When I announced my invention to the crowds that day, it was the finest moment of my career. I pulled all the levers and turned all the dials in exactly the way Drebber had described. When the smoke suddenly started billowing out, I panicked. I didn't know what was happening. But I really don't know how the whole illusion was made to work. don't know anything anymore.
Oh, poor Professor. But we knew it. Let me confirm one final point with you, Professor. Do you now consent to the prosecution submitting the necessary paperwork to release your invention from the protection afforded by the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act? Do you, my guy?
Yes, please go ahead. I'm very sorry.
Poor guy. But at least now we might finally make a break in the case. It would appear we shall have to suspend proceedings for the remainder of the day now. Lord Van Zeeks, my lord, the court has newly been made aware of another party whose involvement of this matter is critical. Yes, Mr. Drebber. Gather information about the man. If possible, I should like him served with a subpoena. With pleasure, my lord. Now, counsel for the defense.
Yes, my lord.
When we reconvene, I shall be looking for one thing and one thing alone from you. Evidence that the defendant is innocent of the crime for which he presently stands accused.
I understand.
Good. In that case, this court is adjourned until tomorrow morning.
Oh man, what a great day at trial. All right, well, that was definitely an epic day at court. We managed to basically, if nothing else, convince ourselves of the truth that Professor Harebrain is not guilty. It's obviously some kind of conspiracy involving this machine and this Drebber character that created this engineer magician guy. What's his motivation? Just money? And how did Odie Asman actually end up dead? Did a deal go bad? I don't know, but we will find out more in the next episode. So if you like this kind of content, please make sure to like, subscribe, follow, share, all that good stuff. If you want to watch live, we're on Twitch at twitch.tv/TheR27. I have my schedule posted in the about and in the description. And if you want to see which games we're playing each day, I post them on x.com/TheR27. And I hope you'll join me in the next one. Until then, guys, bye.